Hi, pretty people. It is Crystal, your very own beauty professional, and Foundation Fridays are back. Nars Natural Radiant Longwear Foundation. Does it live up to any of those names on the label? The Nars Sheer Glow is one of my longtime favorites. So I have the shade Tahoe. This is a long wear foundation per NARS, and it's supposed to provide 16 hours of wear, and it's supposed to really provide a true color match. And I played with quite a few shades and settled on this one, but there were 3 shades that I loved from NARS. So they have done a beautiful and well thought out job with the shade range. They haven't just thrown these together. I love the NARS brand in general. That's probably because of Francois Nars, who really gives that artist influence to the brand, someone who's really worked behind the scenes, worked on a variety of faces. And so that's probably why I love the NARS brand, because thought goes into it. They aren't only pushing out products, they're pushing out well thought out products for the most part. I've already tested the foundation in a variety of ways for you, so I can bring you some thorough feedback on what I think about it and how it wears. So let's get started. I like applying the foundation with both a sponge and a brush. Although I love the Beauty Blender, I like brushes for the most part for foundation because they don't suck up so much of your product. But in the case of this one, I didn't feel like I was losing as much product. So how about we go ahead and we do both. One of the things I noticed is that a little bit goes a long way. I love the pump dispenser, thank you NARS, and it pumps out a tiny bit at a time, but not so tiny that the pump gets clogged, which was a challenge that I had with one of Laura Mercier's foundations. The pump got clogged and then it will squirt out product and possibly ruin your clothing. I found that a little bit goes a long way, so I don't mind it dispensing less rather than more. We want all our money's worth because NARS is not for the tight-fisted. So I always start toward the inner face, under the eye, areas that usually need the more evening out. And although it says it's a radiant foundation, I wouldn't be afraid of that if you're an oily girl, because I have found that it gives a demi matte finish. In other words, it leaves the life in the skin. And if you want more of a matte, then you can set it with a nice powder. It does not look masky or cakey. It just perfects the skin without looking heavy on the skin. You can see it's sort of satiny, and you'll see as time progresses how it settles down into a sort of velvety finish. And velvet does have that perfect blend of matte and satin. You know, velvet looks soft and matte, but as you turn it in the light, you can see it has a little glow. Well, it's similar with the finish of this foundation. I am going to use an Anastasia Beverly Hills A30 brush. I have quite a few of the ABH brushes and I've really been impressed with them. And I don't hear many people talk about the brushes. So I would like to actually do a review on the full line of ABH brushes so you can see what they have to offer. I love this one because although it's a brush, it's dense, and so it applies sort of like a sponge without absorbing the product. So it has a sponge-like finish, that dense, soft finish, but it's not so absorbent like a sponge. So we'll go ahead and apply it to this other side of the face, again starting in the center of the face, under the eye. I do this with myself and almost all my clients, because once you even out the complexion under that eye, which just tends to be naturally darker because of the nature of the skin under the eye, once you even that out, it's pretty much smooth sailing from there. Evening out the center of the face, around the corners of the mouth, then you can work outward from there. And yes, I'll be doing my forehead. I've done this side, and I'll be doing my forehead as well. Last time someone didn't see me apply it on my forehead on camera, and so they thought I didn't put foundation on my forehead. we do edit these videos, so you do miss some tidbits. And I am doing a tapping motion instead of a swiping, rubbing, or buffing motion. You can do that too, depending on what you're doing. But it's just beautiful to use a stippling motion, especially with this brush. I love this brush. Feels so soft. As with all of Nars foundation, they usually have some skin-friendly ingredients in there. So this one is no different. And so for this particular foundation, it has raspberry, watermelon, and apple extract. That's supposed to be good for your skin over the long term. None of Nars foundations have ever broken me out. I love Sheer Glow foundation. I've tried 2 of their other foundations, and although they were nice, they didn't really compel me to repurchase. So here we are with an even application of the foundation. Now, as you can see, like I said, it's still satiny. Now, with my normal to dry skin, I can actually walk out of the door with it with this finish and not have to worry about it cracking or wearing off or getting super shiny. However, if you're oily skin, definitely powder it. And in the end, I will do a light layer of powder. Not too much powder to overly mattify it because it's such a beautiful skin-like finish, but just enough to set it a little. It definitely is surprisingly a pretty full coverage foundation, so I love that. Definitely medium to full coverage, and I haven't even really built it up. This is just one even layer of the foundation. It can be built up a little bit more to a little bit more perfection than this. Now, what about that promise of 16 hours of wear? I am happy to say that this wears beautifully. Whether or not it's 16 hours, I'm pretty sure it would be. I haven't worn it for that long, but I've definitely worn it for 10 to 12, and it looked pretty good at the end of the day. I am so happy to say that this is one of the foundations that you almost don't want to wear on an everyday basis because it sits so beautifully and makes your skin look so beautiful. I know that sounds like a contradiction, but it's one of those foundations that feels like a special occasion foundation because it makes you look so beautiful. You hardly want to touch it. So this is one of the bigger hits from Nars for me for a long time since Sheer Glow. And they did have Sheer Matte once upon a time, and that was a big favorite, but they discontinued this. So I'm gonna go put on the rest of my face and come back with my final thoughts. And here's the finished look. So just for a recap, the foundation is pretty much as it promises. It is a long-wearing, perfecting foundation that sits beautifully on the skin and has a very nice color selection. It's not just a nice foundation, it's a gorgeous foundation and one that I find myself wanting to reach for every day. It gives a flawless look without looking heavy, without looking really made up, and it leaves a skin-like finish that you can leave with a little bit of glow or that you can powder depending on your skin type. Would I recommend it? Tastes vary from person to person, but I definitely say try a sample of this one. Thank you so much for watching another Foundation Friday. I look forward to the next one, but until we meet again, keep it pretty.